Welcome back to Benton Homestead. Now it's the beginning of June in Japan, which means it's the beginning of the rainy season, and we've been hustling to get all of our fields planted. We've got a short break in the downpour, so we're going to take you around and see what we've been up to. This is our pepper field where we're trying an experiment with cardboard sheet mulching. We made a whole video about this you can check out. So the cardboard worked pretty good. I'm going to say it killed about 80% of the weeds. And this line of mulch here is all the weeds that we pulled out before we planted the peppers. And we also did have to come back in and replace some of the cardboard that blew away. In the future, we're going to make it prettier with bark chips or wood chips or something to make it look nicer. But for now, I think it's going to work pretty well. We ended up with some patches where even though the cardboard blew away, no weeds sprouted. So I think that's an indication we're on the right path. Of course, the reason that the cardboard blew away was that we were using pretty small pieces that we got for free, and now we've located a source for some bigger pieces, so we should be able to do this more easily in the future. This potato planted itself here. Bonus. Now these peppers should have been in the ground a long time ago, but we're happy they finally made it. We planted 156 in 6 rows, and they're all looking very happy with this rain that we've been having. The varieties we have planted are Bishop's Hat, Takanotsume, which is a Japanese hot pepper, Mirasol, Tabasco, and Hatch. We also planted a few pumpkins for ground cover. This is bee yard number 1. We've filmed several videos here, so we don't need to go into it very much, but Danny just weed whacked it, so it's looking reasonably okay. We're hoping to plant some pollinator plants, sort of get a meadow going here, but we haven't started that yet. This is turning out to be an ideal location for honeybees with its southern exposure, and they've got plenty of food thanks to the Akame Gashiwa trees behind them, which are just coming into bloom, and they're going to give us our next honey flow. Now, we haven't mentioned this in a video yet, but this is our first colony of Japanese honeybees, and we were just recently given this as a surprise, and we haven't talked about it because we've been super busy, and also because this is probably not going to be their final location, so they still have the transportation wrapping on, but they're happy and healthy, and they're doing great, and we hope to have many more colonies of the Apis cerana in the future. The size of one of these colonies is about 1/4 of a European honeybee colony. So you don't see them crawling around the entrance, but if you open the box, they're in there. Now we're standing on the terrace just down from our bee yard, which is right up yonder. And the owner of the bee yard also owns this land, so she's letting us use it, and we're calling this our bonus field. Let's go check out what's planted here. Here we have some Jerry Peterson OG blue corn. I planted an assortment of various pollinator plants here that I plan to propagate and plant up at the bee yard. But since we're not quite sure how we're going to do that, I'm just keeping them here for now. Now the weeds are getting ahead of me here. Believe it or not, I was in here less than a week ago, but they're growing pretty fast here in the rainy season. Anyway, here's a spaghetti squash that's looking pretty photogenic, so we'll just go with that.
Hi, Ehime. Hi, honey.
Always stealing the show.
Hi, baby. Are you hungry? Oof, look at all her fur.
Okay, huh?
Ehime, you need someone to brush you. Ehime-sama. You are so precious, Ehime. Precious little princess. Look how much you need brushed. Look how much you need brushed. Oh, sweetie. Look at all that fur. Look at all that winter fur.
This is the side of our guest house. Very much a work in progress, but we have some plans to turn this into a nice outdoor space. I just love these little tomato seedlings popping up everywhere. So these seeded themselves and they're already bearing fruit. So I'd say we live in a climate that's pretty ideal for tomatoes. Look at all these puppies. I'm not even mad. In front of these tomatoes I have my little plant nursery. I'm something of a hoarder. Now here where we have a bit of a sunny spot, we're doing an experiment where we're planting buckwheat and clover, both of which are great for honeybees. The theory is that the buckwheat is going to come up super fast and it's going to provide protection for the clover, and it's going to crowd out any weeds so the clover will be able to establish itself later. But I just planted these, or scattered them I should say, maybe 3 days ago, and they're already coming up, so pretty impressed. This compost heap was one of our great successes last year, and this year we have several more even. But out of this I was able to make all of the potting soil that I used for my little starts. So that saved us a lot of money, and it seems to be pretty good soil.
Here you can see how big the compost is. And we still have some weeding to do back here, maybe tomorrow. Our long-term goal is to have a nice outdoor sitting space here, but for now we're just happy trying to make it look like an inviting place for the guest house. Alright, we gotta get in here and do some weeding before we can show you the next few fields.
Well, what a difference an entire day of weeding makes. Of course, now my allergies are going crazy, so you have to bear with me. Tomatoes are really starting to produce, but the trellis isn't fully finished. That'll take another work day, I think. As I mentioned in the video on the trellis, I'm going to put in more horizontal bamboo pieces and then just tie everything up. These are long beans, or asparagus beans. We grew these a lot in New Orleans and they seem like they're doing really good here as well. Now marigolds are said to have all sorts of beneficial applications for tomatoes. I decided to grow these African marigolds so that we could also sell them as cut flowers. Now these tomatillos you pick when the fruit has fully filled out the lantern. So this guy's still got a way to go, but the plant is very productive. And last year I had a lot of insect damage. I'm not seeing any of that this year, so that's nice. Another thing about tomatillos is the bees seem to really love them.
On a personal note, I'm really happy to have this tomato and tomatillo garden right where it's located, because it's a beautiful view right from the guest house window, and we've had a number of guests comment on it already.
A bit of a disaster back here. We had some flooding in the heavy rain, and this used to be a rice paddy, so it's got some drainage issues. Part of my work yesterday involved digging a ditch, which is something I've had to do a lot in my short time as a Japanese farmer. The drainage is definitely improved, but I think we are going to lose some of these plants. Here's what we're working with. It's a dual-purpose variety from Oaxaca. We spent all morning looking for non-plastic containers to sell these in at the farmer's market, and we settled on the traditional takoyaki boat, which is a super thin piece of wood that's formed into a bowl shape. Let's walk on down to the next exhibit. The compost heap certainly has grown a lot in one day.
As well as our little ground cover experiment. They have grown a lot in one day as well.
Follow me around this decrepit garage and I'll show you another one of our plots. So this is our second year doing an experiment with sheet mulching with cardboard and a cut-up tatami mat. We did a video on that a while ago. And we're also doing some chop and drop which means all the weeds we pull, we're just throwing them right back on the garden here. And it's doing pretty well. It's probably the easiest plot that we have to weed because of that method. This is a white corn variety, also from Oaxaca. This is some cilantro that's gone to seed, and the bees have just started taking an interest in it. This is a zucchini plant. Zucchini actually sells for a lot here, go figure. Now besides corn, the rest of this plot is actually peppers. It's habaneros and jalapenos, which you wouldn't know from all these lovely tomato plants that have just sprouted on their own here. I'm probably going to have to thin some of them because there's so darn many of them, but I'm going to leave them for now. Now the idea was to have watermelon as a ground cover, so that's still here. And we came in here and weeded, I think yesterday, but we left this stuff because it's a nitrogen fixer. So we're gonna leave it until it flowers, and then it's really easy to pull. And we'll just drop it like that.
So if you peek just over the top of this corn and in between the abandoned garage on the left and the abandoned house on the right, you can see just a little bit of the bamboo poles. That's where the tomatoes and tomatillo garden is, behind the guest house. And that's where we found Bosco. Here's the other half of the guest house side yard that I didn't have cleaned up yesterday. This is done now, and we're also going to try our ground cover experiment here to see if we can get clover growing instead of weeds. Now let's go take a look at the front of the guest house. This is still a work in progress. Here you can see our loaner K-truck, because our K-truck is in the shop. Here's the front yard. It obviously still needs some work. And I think I've mentioned this a few times, but I just want to talk about it again because we have this pile of rocks here that is quite unsightly. This might be a little too early to make any sort of official announcements, but just know that we are in the early planning stages of possibly trying to do a crowdfunding on a Japanese crowdfunding site to get this garage at our guest house turned into an omiyage roadside farm stand for honey and vegetables and other local artisans, which would require some more parking. So our plan all along has been to use all of these amazing rocks that we found throughout the property to build a little planter there just along the road, and then to turn this whole space into 2 additional diagonal parking spots, which would be necessary if we had a shop in addition to the guest house. We would need to have some more parking available for shoppers as well as guests. It's hard to explain. I hope you can sort of picture it. We would just like a small planter here along the road made with these rocks, and then where the rocks are and where this bamboo is, we would have 2 diagonal parking spots. So again, that's not an official announcement. It's not officially happening, but it's something that we're in the early planning stages. All right, that's looking a little better here, a little more presentable. And then we also have this little triangle of land here. There was a citrus tree that was dying, so Evan took that out a little while ago, and then we've just been keeping the weeds down. And these are some sort of flower. Evan says it's going to be pretty. So we need to get some sort of ground cover in here. We have a long-term plan for this triangle, but in the meantime, we just need to get it looking pretty.
Well, it never ends. We gotta quit for now though, because we've gotta go home and wash up for a business meeting, and then we're gonna come back tomorrow and show you the big field and our other bee yard.
All right, everybody, we are having an abrupt change to this video. The footage that you've been watching was recorded last week, and since then we've just had many, many rainy days, and the forecast looks like it's going to continue to rain, so I'm not going to be able to take you around to the last few fields like I wanted to. and also get this video out in a timely manner. So I thought we would just shift gears and we can show you the remaining fields in a video so I can get this one out to you sooner. So it is likely that our next video will be our first veggies going to the farmer's market, and at that time we'll probably have had enough time without rain to be able to show you the last few fields. As a little bit of a consolation, I thought I would show you the progress I've been making in the garage. On the rainy days, I've been working out here on the days that we can't work in the fields. And I really just want to say thank you to those of you who suggested doing the green along the bottom. I absolutely love it, and I hope you do too. The walls behind me only have one coat, but I'm just really loving the way that this little workshop is turning out. As always, thanks for watching. We're going to keep working around here, and we'll keep getting these videos out as quickly as we can to keep you updated with all of our progress. I know I say this a lot, but we've got a lot of videos in the works coming up soon. You're also welcome to leave a comment for anything specifically you'd like us to talk about in more detail, and we'll see you in the next video. Whew, it's humid. Sweaty.